What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at Data Dash, and today is August 10th of 2021. Well, folks, I hope you all are having a fantastic day wherever you are, and in today's video, I want to spend some time to dive into the potential behind another altcoin cycle here in the current bull market that we're going through. I not only want to talk about why I believe so through a variety of different trend analysis and data science models, but also share about why rationally in this case, if we are in a mid-cycle correction, that we should expect more risk-taking and therefore further growth in altcoin dominance, potentially setting new all-time highs even compared to back in 2017. And outside of this as well, I want you guys to know that we've got a sponsored review later on for Swarm Markets, a really exciting DeFi protocol that could bring in trillions of dollars of institutional capital into the DeFi space like never before. So we're going to be talking about that later on. You guys won't want to miss it. Let's go ahead and dive into the conversation. So to start off here, I want to talk a little bit about the current technical pattern that we're seeing here within altcoin dominance. Now, as much as I do like to focus on trend analysis here by looking at, for example, in a top of a market, seeing lower highs and lower lows, which we officially got here back in July 2021, which would usually favor me to go long Bitcoin or exit on my altcoin positions, and vice versa, right? In the sense of a trend reversal for altcoins to be more bullish, we want to see higher lows like we did here and higher highs, right? So again, that can be a trend confirmation go bullish, right? The thing that I want to emphasize is why I don't dramatically shift my positions immediately once these become true. Because it's not always going to be the case that higher lows and higher highs is an indicator for things to just go up and up and up and up. And at the same time, it's also not a clear sign if you're looking at longer term time frames and the broader trend analysis of an overall bull market that it's going to be a clear sign of reversal. Because if we would have followed that and exited our positions, after that, practically right after, altcoin dominance would have shot up from around 51.5, 51.7 up towards 54% after a couple days. And what we're seeing now is actually a very bullish pattern, a descending wedge. And I know that doesn't sound bullish, but it is a bullish pattern. It's where you have lowering highs and lowering lows, but the lowering highs are dropping and descending at a faster rate than your support range. If you take a look at all the major points we have here for this trend line, we have around 54%, 53%, 52%, and 51%. But the decline here was much more significant on the resistance. 60%, downward towards 58.5%, down here towards 55.5%, right? So you can see here that again, we not only broke through this point of resistance, which alone is very bullish, but looks like we're trying to make it as new support to give another leg up here over the next coming months into the fall for altcoins to regain some of that lost dominance and possibly even break out to a higher range than we've seen in 2017. The idea here is that we could come up here, revisit those previous all-time highs in January 2018 or December 2017 and start to move higher towards maybe an even bigger range, maybe something like 68 or 70%, right? And again, I want to talk first and foremost about why it's practical to expect this. Because if you are in the mindset that we're in a bear market, in this case, that the market's over, then yes, in that case, you shouldn't be longing altcoins. Stick to your guns. If that's your opinion, that's perfectly fine. We can agree to disagree. I'm not here to be the oracle or be-all voice in this space, right? So if you guys disagree on that, that's fine. But if you are in the belief that we've just gone through a mid-cycle correction, which is the belief we hold personally, then it would make sense to expect that altcoins are going to continue climbing higher, because as you go further and further into the cycle, and there's more euphoria in the market and more liquidity, there is tended to be more speculation and more excitement for alternative cryptocurrency projects out there in the market. It's exactly what we saw in 2017, and it's what we've seen as we've gone throughout the bull market here for the 2020 and 2021 cycle. So again, I think this is going to continue to grow over time. We're just building that nice range of support. And interestingly enough, if you want to take a look at longer term time frame analysis and look at this big long-term chart, if you generally put a line here between the points of resistance back here in August of 2017, the points of support here in March of 2018, and where we are right now, it lines up perfectly. It's as if we're building support again. And even if you are of the idea that we're in a bear market, what's really interesting is that even back here, we had a secondary rally, albeit it wasn't towards a higher degree level. And this would be your telltale sign that, oh my gosh, we are in a bear market, is if we started to have a lower high and roll over. But again, we haven't seen that yet. So we have this opportunity where we've built support. Now we've got room to leg up in this case for altcoins to actually start regaining dominance. So again, keep that in mind here, right? It's an important thing to focus on. And I'm not going to be biased that we can't be in a bear market, but we'd want to still see this higher low for confirmation on altcoin dominance to signal that people are taking less risk than they were before. Right? Now, I want to go ahead and talk about another telltale sign. Whether you're looking at 24% price action or 7-day, I like to look at 7-day to kind of get a broader weekly trend. We can not only see that one of our big plays, Uniswap or Uni, is up here, which is really nice to see. But outside of that, you can see that as we scroll down the list here, there are a lot of altcoins, even some of the famed favorites here, such as Dogecoin, but even Ethereum, that are heavily outpacing Bitcoin, which is already up significantly over the past couple days and weeks, right? Up 19% over the last 7 days. Now, of course, there are a lot of other cryptocurrencies that aren't outpacing Bitcoin, but many of them are keeping up. And what's most important when it comes to altcoin dominance and our theory of focusing on the larger plays, we can see Uni, the 10th largest cryptocurrency, biggest DeFi play out there in the market, up 40.8%. We can see here as well large protocol tokens like FTX token, large meme coins like Dogecoin. Again, the 7th largest cryptocurrency, up 30%. Major DeFi protocols such as Aave, and most importantly, Ethereum, up 27.35% versus Bitcoin, which is up only 19.5%. This is an important telltale sign that we are still seeing optimism. There is different macro dynamics that are at play here, guys, versus the previous cycle. Whether it be the preparation of ETH2 in the sense of locking up a variety of the ETH2 supply for staking, for validators, and outside of that, EIP 1559, starting to change the market dynamics of supply and demand for Ethereum. And then also you've got DeFi, which is a real use case here. A global decentralized AMM like Uniswap is a really exciting value proposition. It's something that, again, we built a variety of positions back here in October and November during this quiet period where Uni was pretty much going sideways. People thought that, you should have sold your airdrop tokens. It's a dead project. When in reality, it's up to $30. And it's not that far away from where it was back here in May, or basically where we were back around April 8th, or back here during the sell-off around May 19th. Nothing really to fret over. It's starting to move up higher, and it's outperforming Bitcoin, which is a really important telltale sign. No matter how you want to draw your lines of resistance here on the chart, you can see here whether the logarithmic or the standard chart, right? You can see here that we've generally started to set in what almost might be not only another consistent range of support here that we saw tested multiple times, buyers coming in here, but outside of this, well, possibly building support on our previous line of resistance from these ranges, right? We started to clear through any potential resistance and now have the ability to just simply start moving higher and revisiting those previous Bitcoin levels. This is not something you see if we're in a bear market or if we were to exit altcoins, right? But we're focusing on the right plays, fundamental plays. Let's take a look at Chainlink here. Right? Chainlink, after having, I think, a near 80% correction from this range here, still had some time where it needed to go sideways since back here in December 2020. And the reason why is because it was coming down to test a key long-term support line after it had broken away quite heavily during DeFi summer, right? And now we've started to see that it's holding support here again, and now it looks like it's at generally the discount range, right? Because this is the general range of support. This is where generally prices are over exuberant. You can see that right here was a point to sell. We almost got close up to there, and over here as well, we got extremely exacerbated from the general upward channel, right? So again, you have to ignore these kind of exacerbated moves, focus on the general trend. Are we on the lower end or the higher end? We're on the lower end now, right? And outside of that as well, another play that I just wanted to talk about, and then we'll take a look at a really interesting data science model for the broader sector, is Litecoin. Because I know a lot of people have been wondering or asking about Litecoin, and we've talked about Litecoin on the channel. But the thing I want to emphasize here is that we've come down towards traditional historic support. We can see here at around 350,000 Satoshis that this is historic support back here in March, where we started to get excited about Litecoin, we built our positions. And even though we didn't sell it back here for a 2x profit here in May, our goal is to trade this for the longer term trend. When we see prices down below this line, it doesn't live here for very long, and buyers tend to come in, just like we saw here, and much like what we saw back here during 2015 and 2017. So these are two different areas we want to focus on when it comes to history and analyzing how Litecoin is going to perform going forward here. Now, the last thing that I want to focus on here in regards to the overall analysis for the market is taking a look at something that I don't think a lot of people have known about, but it's a really cool model online that is also used in traditional markets to indicate generally if we're in a bull market, bear market, but they use it in the sense of broad equity analysis, right? It's a little bit different than analyzing just altcoins and Bitcoin dominance. This is the Altcoin Season Index. So what does the Altcoin Index actually showcase to us? What it showcases is the performance of the top 50 cryptocurrencies against Bitcoin over the last 90 days. So just to explain the index on a bit more of a visual basis, as you can see here, the most recent metric here on August 10th today is 16%. This means that over 16% or only 16% of the top 50 altcoins are outperforming Bitcoin over the last 90 days. And this is probably your Axie Infinities. These are your different types of plays out there that have been really the anomalies in the market that have continued to rally up as they find use case and they find value propositions. And we can see back here, stepping back a couple months ago, back in April of 2021, we had 98% of coins, or 49 out of 50 of the top altcoins, outpacing Bitcoin over the last 90 days. And that is, again, a sign of peak euphoria. The problem that a lot of people have when they look at this altcoin season and Bitcoin season index is they think, when I'm in altcoin season, that's the time to buy altcoins. And they also think as well that when you're in the Bitcoin season, it's time to go into Bitcoin. The problem with this mindset is that it's completely unfavorable to the way you should properly trade. And I'll explain why. Just taking a step back here, as we're taking a look all the way through, back during the summer of 2020, so a year's worth of price action. Let's take a look at the dip here in the Bitcoin season, going from November 3rd here towards January 15th, this window of time, right? Now, we also have, again, the time period up here, the altcoin season, starting on around, probably the beginning of April, late March, downward here towards mid-June. Now, let's take a look at the uni chart here. What time would you have rather bought uni? Would you have wanted to buy it when we bought it down here at $3 to $4 per token? When it was down here at a fraction of the range it went to during that altcoin season? Or would you just want to buy here when it's euphoric here going into March and April, where we've already again seen the vast majority of the gains and maybe you get a 20-30% return, then a dramatic sell-off afterwards? See, this altcoin index actually showcases to us when it's time to buy. And it's not during the altcoin season, nor is it during, per se, the trend. You can buy during the trend if you didn't buy during the Bitcoin season. But the most favorable time is when you dip into this red zone here, the exacerbated underperformance of altcoins. Because then after that, after some time, within a matter of just really 1 to 2 months, we can start to see valuations in altcoins outpacing the valuation growth of Bitcoin. So that's the key thing to focus on, guys. Again, if we are of the idea that this is a mid-cycle correction, things will continue to climb higher. The value propositions are there. DeFi is here to stay. Interest is continuing to grow. And I think that it's not going to show any signs of stopping anytime soon. Now, on to that point, let's go ahead and actually dive into this conversation around swarm markets, which is aiming to do exactly that, to bring in DeFi to institutions and build a streamlined gateway for cryptocurrency DeFi to the vast majority of users. Let's go ahead and dive into the conversation. Alrighty, everyone. So in today's sponsored review, we're going to be taking a look at a new DeFi protocol that's not only aiming to bridge trillions of dollars of assets from traditional enterprise finance into the DeFi ecosystem, but also provide a transparent bridge for both institutions and retail users to engage within the cryptocurrency DeFi market in a compliant manner. And it's no other than swarm markets. Now, if this is your first time hearing about swarm markets, it's perfectly fine, guys, because swarm markets has been really working hard behind the scenes over the past couple years to build about what they saw was going to be incredibly valuable in the upcoming years. As DeFi was slowly starting to show traction back in 2019, they thought about the idea of building a bridge that institutions were going to need in order to not only engage in the DeFi ecosystem, but also bridge the trillions of dollars of liquidity and value from things like security tokens and basically tokenized real estate into the cryptocurrency DeFi space. And this is a really exciting value proposition. I want to talk a little bit about that before we dive into actually reviewing the protocol, because I think a lot of people have the instant misconception that this is just purely KYC, DeFi, or in this case is interacting in a permissioned ecosystem, restricted applications. When in reality, that's not what Swarm Market's doing. In fact, what Swarm Market does is they do provide that KYC, KYB layer for people to interact within the DeFi ecosystem. But with this, it allows you to participate in any way you'd want. You can participate in Swarm's tools if you'd like. You can go out and use permissionless protocols out there where you're interacting with Aave, Compound, Uniswap, you name it. It's just basically a compliant gateway for anyone to interact with this space, and along with that as well provides the flexibility that people should come to expect with DeFi. Whereas with traditional exchanges, it can be a bit barbaric and take some time. So I'll try to explain that as we go throughout this. And the first thing I want to talk about is really what they call the global passport, or the passport for Swarm Markets. Now, as you guys can see here, as I will be going through the protocol, it shows that I've not completed the passport on my account that I have here. And the reason for that is because I'm one of the few restricted countries who can't participate. If you are in the United States, or if you're in OFAC countries, usually countries that are sanctioned for various financial reasons, then you aren't able to interact with the Swarm Market set of tools and onboarding. However, if you're in Europe, if you're in Canada and Australia, practically anywhere else in the world, you should be able to interact with the protocol and onboard. The KYC process is extremely streamlined, and it's actually done through a framework that they've partnered with through BaFin, one of the largest regulators on the world stage in regards to regulating European markets, and it is the major financial authority within Germany. This has been a partnership that they've worked on for the past couple of years as they've been building out the network of Swarm Markets and some of their tool sets and making sure that there's a proper onboarding process that's going to be compliant for institutions as well as retail participants to get engaged in the DeFi ecosystem and engage in a variety of the application that Swarm Markets wanted to build. Now, an important thing to understand here is that even as you're going through the passport process, you have the instant ability to go out and trade up to $5,000 within the overall account. So we can see, for example, we have the swap tool here, which is the first major one, and you're able to do swaps just like you would on an AMM. I can select the specific crypto that I have in my portfolio. I'm able to select the token I want to trade into, and I can type in the specified token amount and engage in swaps. I can see the price impact, the transaction fee, and the actual market rate of what I'm getting for one wrapped ETH. The important thing you're going to want to know about is that as of now, there's a limited number of assets that you can trade within Swarm Markets' actual AMM product, similar to Uniswap. However, you have to use wrapped Bitcoin and wrapped ETH, and then you can use DAI and the SMT token, the Swarm Markets token, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. But second off here, outside of the swap product, is you have pools here. So this is the framework and the liquidity for actually allowing people to trade within the AMM product that Swarm offers. Now, the really interesting thing here is that Swarm itself, because of the way that it's actually going about providing DeFi participation to a whole new range of enterprise or institutional clients, it not only offers the ability to be an AMM like Uniswap, where you might have pools very similar to DAI and wrapped Bitcoin, wrapped ETH and wrapped Bitcoin, wrapped ETH and DAI, whatever it may be, whatever pair you can think of, but also the ability to bring in and securitize other types of assets within this AMM framework. So that people who, for example, might want to interact with trading equities or real estate ownership, they can actually do so by going through Swarm Markets framework of onboarding and now investing in a whole range of assets from their MetaMask wallet that they couldn't interact with before. And that is a massive value proposition because we've been hearing for all these years about how we could possibly securitize different types of digital assets within a tokenized framework. And the problem that we always came back to was that there was no framework to onboard and meet to the need of regulators in order for this to happen. And now BaFin, with the help of Swarm Markets in this case, throughout their framework have built that framework. Eventually, we could start to see pools rather than of just DAI and wrapped Bitcoin, which are tokenizations of crypto. We could actually start to see tokenized securities where you could trade between Tesla stock and Bitcoin. You could trade against all types of different companies and real estate products and other types of assets, or just garner exposure to those assets. And I think that that's really, really fascinating. You can see here as well that you can manage your pools that you're interacting with. You can see private pools as well, and then eventually the ability to create your own pool later on. You can always go here to the wallet tab, which will actually showcase here the actual on-chain address here. the amount of assets that you have that you can trade throughout the Swarm Markets platform. And one thing that I wanted to emphasize and just kind of hint, you guys won't be able to see it here because my webcam is covering up, and I'll go ahead and maybe I can kind of point out to you guys here. Maybe I'll pop it up here so you guys can see it here. This is the intercom chat that's in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. We use this at Digifox as well. Absolutely love intercom, and I love the focus on customer support. So if you guys have some questions, again, this is something you're not going to find on Uniswap, Compound, or Aave. So I wanted to give the team some props on that because I think that's a very, very big step in the sense of providing the proper experience for users. Now, if we go to the About section here on the sidebar, this is going to take us to the website where we can learn more about the protocol. But I wanted to focus in on a couple different things within the documentation on their website. This is kind of the go-to place if you guys have any questions about interacting with Swarm or what kind of, again, framework you're working in when you're interacting with plugging in your wallet, interacting with the Swarm ecosystem. But again, as we go through some of these line items, again, I want you all to know that you can still interact with a variety of other things. This doesn't restrict your MetaMask. You can go interact with Compound, come back to the Swarm platform as they build out more services over time. But the major thing that I want to emphasize as we go throughout the list here is focusing in on the SMT token. This is the native utility token on the platform. You guys can use for a variety of different discounts and features. So if you guys are interested in that native token for the platform or the protocol itself, you guys are welcome to dive in here to the token section. But here you have all the major core concepts, the passport, the wallet, where you can get a lot of questions answered that you may have about the protocol. But if you still need help, again, you guys can always reach out to the customer support side. Again, I think the opportunity that this really opens up for here is to actually add more utility to the DeFi ecosystem. You know, the biggest utility so far that I've seen within crypto is AMMs, decentralized exchanges, the ability to swap from one asset to another through a decentralized order book that just functions as intended. And the great thing about this is that within Swarm's ecosystem and the ability to onboard all different types of assets, we can now trade assets we just simply couldn't trade before within DeFi. And I'm not talking about synthetics or derivatives. I'm talking about ownership, real ownership of the underlying asset. In this case, to be able to get exposed to equity. So let's say, for example, during this time period when since May, June, and July, the crypto market hadn't fared too well. The markets were relatively down, prices weren't looking good. Perhaps maybe back when we were around the $65,000, $60,000 range for Bitcoin, maybe you wanted to move into Tesla shares. The problem is that in the traditional framework, if it's not tokenized, and as simple as making a swap on Uniswap, you have to do all this offboarding and going through another platform where you have to onboard the capital, which probably is going to incur fees and most importantly, wait time. That's going to prevent you from being able to go from the one asset you want to trade from to another. And that is the power here of Swarm. That's the value proposition of what they're building here. Now, overall, again, I would say in the sense of kind of like my candid feedback, I think the one thing that I'd like to see, and bear in mind, Swarm is early on here. I would like to see a bit more liquidity on some of these different pairs here for the different cryptos, as well as some more assets. But bear in mind, it's early on. And the important thing to realize as well is that there's already around $40 million plus of assets committed to eventually launch on the Swarm protocol from a variety of different types of assets. And that is what I think Swarm is going to shine. The more liquidity it can get with this global onboarding process through the passport that it provides is going to be incredibly powerful for providing value proposition for Swarm as an overall DeFi protocol. But again, it's the early days. If you're here to be an early supporter, guys, you guys are welcome to check out the link down below in the description to get your hands on the Swarm protocol. Test it out, give it a go. It's live on mainnet. Everything you saw here today is actually on mainnet, where you can do swaps, you can manage your wallet, go through the passport process, etc. But that being said, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this review, and if you like it, give it a thumbs up. Let us know your thoughts on it. Give Swarm a try today. They're a really cool team. And if you have any questions for them, reach out to them on Intercom and learn more and engage more in the protocol. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.